Hey, I'm Alex Ratcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm reviewing Mille Fiori from Devira Games. Mille Fiori is a 2 to 4 player tile placement game which players are going to be placing down their little glass pieces onto the various regions of the board in an attempt to score more points, and every region in the board is going to score points differently. You're going to do this until someone runs out of these little pieces, which will trigger endgame, and that's how you play the game. See who has the most points, and that's it. That's how you play Mille Fiori. That's it. Let's move to the review. Let's not move to the review. Let's go a bit more into detail. You're going to be drafting cards in the game. You're going to have a bunch of cards over here, and you're going to be picking a hand of cards and then selecting the cards. You can reveal them simultaneously, one at a time. There's a few modes. Doesn't really matter significantly there. Well, I'm sure it matters significantly, not for the purpose of this teach over here, but you're going to have a hand of cards. You're going to take a look at these cards, and each card is going to define a region or place where you can put something down. They have different indicators. For example, so you can see these two cards over here are going to be for this region. This card is going to allow you to put down a tile on one of these spaces, and that card is going to let you put a tile down on that spot. That's the way you're going to be putting tiles down on the board. So you're going to score points differently depending on what you do, but you place tiles down the board depending on the cards you have. You can also use cards for their sailing value in the top right corner over here in order to move your ship along the board, which there's another way to do that, but one of the ways to do it is to use a card for its sailing value. That's the other thing you can do with one of these cards. So you have a hand of cards, you pick one, everyone pass, everyone reveals their card and does their action, resolving it in turn order. And what you do with these cards over here is you go into the various regions, and everywhere you place a tile is going to get you points. That's the general idea. Everywhere you place a tile gets you points, rinse and repeat until the game is over. Well, technically rinse and repeat until you down to your last cards, you discard the last card, you drop a new hand of cards, and continue going around and around until the player runs out of tiles. So, how do you actually score points for these regions, since the entire game comes down to placing these little glass tiles into these regions over here? And the way you're going to do that is you're going to, well, let's go through regions one at a time. In this region over here, in fact, let's gather cards. Let's gather a bunch of cards and go through them over here. Let's find one of those cards. In fact, we have them right over here. In that region over here, you're going to score points based on adjacencies. So, example, you can see over here, it shows you, you're going to score 1 point for every linked tile. You place down this tile, it's worth a point. You place down this tile, you get 2 points. You place down this tile, you get 3 points. Unless you're doing this tile, this particular card with that symbol, that's 2 points. So when you place down this tile, you're going to go ahead and get 8 points. It's 2 points for every single tile. Now, as soon as you go ahead, every region is going to have something that's always in common, so to speak. And the thing in common is that every region has a way to get a bonus play and a way to get extra points. So, for example, in this particular area, whenever you surround one of these spots over here, you're going to get a bonus play. So if you go ahead and place a spot down over here, you're going to earn yourself a bonus play from one of these cards on the side. You're going to start with cards over here, and the last card discarded every round is going to be added to here. So that's going to give you something extra you can do whenever you place the last spot around one of these little symbols. You get a bonus play. The way you get points over here is you're going to get points as you place tiles, but you can get bonus points once you have one of all 4 symbols covered. For example, right now we do have all 4 symbols covered. You would take your marker, place it in the highest available spot, and get that many points. So each spot has a way of getting 5, 10, 15, or 20 bonus points for being the first person, or next person, or whatever it is, to accomplish something extra. So again, over here you score for adjacency, and additionally you get bonus plays for surrounding these, and you score extra points for having all 4. And you can only get that once per region, by the way. The bonus plays you can get multiple times. This you can only get once per region. Now we're going to go ahead and find the next region over here. Let's go ahead and do this spot over here. So when you place down in this area over here, what you're going to do is you're going to determine the value of the spot based on what's already there. So for example, right now we get to place a marker down here, and currently there's only one of that single type in this column, and because there's only one, it's worth 1 point. We track and we give ourselves 1 point on the board. The next player goes there, they place that down there, and right now, because it's 2, each one is worth 2 points. So right now red would get 2 points, but so would green, because green also has a commodity there. Let's say again, red places down. When red places again down over here, now each one's worth 3 points, so red would get 6, and green would get 3 points. That's going to continue as you go through them until they're eventually worth 5 points each, until each placement is giving you 25 points distributed amongst the various tiles there. Now, the way you get a bonus play in this one is when you place a bonus play in such a way that it helps somebody who has more than you. So, for example, if this was the situation right now and green placed this down, then green would get 3 and red would get 6, but because red got more points than green, because of that, green's going to go ahead and get a bonus play. They take an action that rewarded another player more than themselves, they will get a bonus play out of it, which means they actually rewarded themselves more than the other person if they did it right. Now, as far as getting bonus plays in this one, as far as getting the extra 20 points over here, you're going to get 20 points for having, again, the 4 different symbols, similar to the way it is up here. They are different, but that's the way this one is over here. Over here, we have the boat spot. The boat spot is going to be placing down symbols over here. When you place a symbol down here, let's add a few more things to the board. Let's grab a purple, slot that down. When you add something down to a boat slot, you're going to go ahead and take a marker, put it down, and you're going to look to see how many things in that row in this zone over here are there. And if there's 1, 2, 3, or 4, you'll get 1 1, 3, 6, or 10 points. So for right now, that red boat's going to be worth 6 points because this is a more filled commodity zone. Now you do only get those points when the full row is finished. So for example, right now you don't get those 1, 3, or 6 points yet, but as another person places that, and maybe someone else places a marker down here, and then purple finishes it off, right now, as soon as you finish it off, each of these markers is going to be worth 10 points because it's a filled row. So red is going to get 20 points and purple will get 10 points in this ship region. Additionally, whenever you play a ship card, whether or not you actually get any points out of that action, you're going to move your ship that many spaces and potentially get either points or alternatively getting an extra bonus action as you move slowly along this track. And so again, just with once more recap on that zone, you're getting points based on how filled the commodity row next to it is, but you only get those points when you got all 3 ships. That's when you're going to get those points per marker you have there. And additionally, you're moving along the zone, getting bonus plays and points just for playing ship cards. That's that aspect I mentioned, that every card has a little value in the top corner, which will be able to allow you to move this instead of the current action. From there, we still have 3 more zones to go, but 2 of them are basically the same, just slightly different colors. We're going to have this one over here. This one over here, when you place this card, you can place a marker in any single region here as long as it's supported by the markers below. So I can't go here, but I could go over here. Now you might say there's a coin over there. That's true. If you place it on the coin, you'll get double the points. Normally you'll get 1, 3, or 6 points depending on the level you place this marker, but if you place it over here, you'll be able to get the double that value of points instead. So that's going to be the way you get points over here. The way you're going to get, oh, by the way, the way you get bonus plays over here is going to be this marker over here. But as far as the way you get bonus plays over here, you're going to get bonus plays by putting it on top marker over here. Whenever you finish the top spot of the board, you'll get a bonus play. So you want to try to work your ways up there. And then again, for the 3 different types, so if you have the 3 different symbols in a region, then you'll go ahead and be able to get the marker for the 20 points over here. That's going to be the exact same thing down here. We have a different set of cards, but it's the same exact principle. If I can find one of them, that is. Here we go. We got a little broccoli thing. It's a clam. But over here, same exact principle. 1, 3, or 6 points. You get double the points if you are placing on the matching symbol of the icon. You get bonus plays for getting the 3 top spots. And for getting all different symbols, you'll get bonus things. Which leads us to the last zone. The last zone is over there. And that's going to be this spot over here. So when you place a marker down over here, you simply place your marker in the next available spot, taking that many points. If you do it again before someone else goes there, then boom, you get the cumulative spots before it. So I'll get all 6 points, and then we'll continue to go there. But if somebody else breaks that up, if this person tries to get 3 points, then if I go here, I'm only getting 5. Because if I go over here after them, I get 5 because I reset the count. As you continue to go through this, you're constantly resetting the count based on the number of spots you currently have there in an order. So it's good to try to get a building a spot. If nobody interrupts you, you can get giant chunks of points. Eventually they will interrupt you though, because they have to, because otherwise you'll straight up win the game. As far as bonus plays, you're going to get bonus plays in here when you get 3 or 5 different numbers. So for example, right now green has 2, 4, and 5. And because they have different numbers, they're going to get a bonus play. If they had this over here, that'd be 2, 4, and 4, which is the same number. So it rewards you for diversifying the actual numeric values of where you're going. You'll get a bonus play at 3 and 5, and you'll get those extra points at 4. Once you get to 4 different numbers, you'll get 20 points if you're the first person, or 15, 10, 5, and so on. And that is basically the way you play Mille Fiori. That's it. You're going to have a hand of cards, you're drafting cards, the cards determine where you go in the game, you're going to be getting bonus plays from the sideboard of the initial cards and the discards, you're also going to get extra points for fulfilling certain requirements, and the entire game is trying to look at a hand of cards and try to feel out what puzzling way there is to try to get as many points as possible in a game that's going to be handing you giant swaths of points at every opportunity, which is a good time to dive into the review, starting off with ease of play. The rulebook is pretty easy to go through, very clear. Every single section is just the same core concept as far as how it plays. The only real difference is this region over here doesn't technically give you an extra point spot, because instead they give you ongoing small chunks of points as the reward. But every spot on the board gives you, the main way you get points, the bonus play, and then the bonus way you get points, with this one being slightly different as far as how it goes. Past that, you draft cards, you select cards, you get bonus plays, you discard your last card, keep going until you run out of markers, and see who has the most points as you go through it. It's a very simple game. You just have to learn the individual regions, and then you're up and running. And the game plays in around 45 minutes to an hour. It depends on the player count, how fast you're going, but players who know this game can knock it out easily in 45 minutes. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like, which, first of all, the beautiful production value offhand. And I don't even know if that's necessarily fair. I don't know if it has a beautiful production value. I think I just like these shiny pieces. The board looks beautiful when you have the board completely covered in these pieces, and the glass boats, the glass player markers, it just looks nice. I mean, the production value is fine. The cards actually are a little thin now that I think about it. The cards are a little thin. It doesn't bother me, but if you riffle shuffle these before sleeving them, they definitely have a degree of bend that makes you wonder exactly just how thin these things are. They work, it's fine. I probably will sleeve this game. I like this game, but Anyways, production value, it's more the acrylic shiny is what I'm here for. But past that, you get tons of points in the game, and I like that. I like a game where you end up with 372 points as your score. There's something satisfying about it. It's not always good, depends on the game. You're playing a game like Dune Imperium, every single point matters. It's a totally different puzzle. You're playing a game like Mille Fiori, and every single 700 points matter. It's fun, it's satisfying, it's something I enjoy in games, and I enjoy it here. I like having giant, like, again, 250 to 350 points for an endgame score in this. I don't actually know if that's the normal range. That's been typically my range, but it depends as far as, I guess, depends on your game group. Maybe I'm underplaying. I'm always nervous when I say scores out loud, because then I have somebody else who's like, you know, actually we're getting 527 points. That's our game, and I'm like, well, that's good to know. But either way, the points, high-scoring game, I like that. And I like the small degrees of cascading. I like the game as it is fairly simple and procedural. But the fact that you have those bonus plays locked in and those extra points, I mean, there's always something to seek out other than purely the optimal action in and of the points itself. If I can go ahead and play something here, it might be a little better to get that bonus play. It might be a little less efficient in terms of the actual play itself. But then I can follow that up with this one, which is going to go ahead and give me this. And that's going to allow me to trigger another bonus play. I mean, it doesn't in this case because that's not what it does. But the idea of those cascading actions, you'll have those turns, and they're incredibly satisfying turns. And I enjoy them a lot. It's just a small little nice touch on a very simple game to give you enough things to consider as you go. And then of course it's got drafting. Now this is not the tense, tough drafting of a game like Blood Rage or Inish or even Seven Wonders for that matter, but it is still a decision space. I enjoy going through my hand of cards and trying to think through what's going to make its way back to me, if anything at all. It depends on the player count you're playing at. And then also what I can actually, what's going to give me the most points, and also what's going to give you points. If there's a close enough situation, especially at lower player counts, of playing at, I mean, again, I think 2 is the board's a little sparse. I think the game is better at 3 and 4 players, but if you're playing even a 3-player game, there's enough reasons to be mindful. If you're passing a card to someone who's currently winning, be mindful if that card could help you enough, and maybe it's worth it for you to get it to stop that. There's a lot of things to balance here in the drafting game. Your main actions of what you're doing for yourself are fairly procedural. If you're taking into account the other players and what other players are going for and how they can get in your way, it changes the way you approach this, and it gives you enough stuff to think of as you play. Overall, the game is just strangely satisfying. It's not the heaviest of games, but it's a strangely satisfying experience as you go through it. As far as what I don't like in the game, it is on the lighter side. That's the first thing to be mindful of. This is a game that the first time I played it, I was like, that was good, that was fun, I'll play it a few more times. I plan on reviewing it, but I think I'm done with it. But not done with it. I don't think I need to hold on to it. I think it's a game that is good for a few plays, and I move on. As of right now, the game is holding my interest and attention despite being very much on the lighter side. It is on the lighter side. It's a lighter game. I want you to know that walking in. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Lighter is often used as a bad thing. It's more of a general taste and interest of what you're looking for. I am someone who tends to not keep lighter games that long. I like them for the experience they provide, and I like to move on from those experiences. Mille Fiori is a lighter experience, but currently it's a lighter experience that's holding my attention. So it's both things. It is lighter. I wish there was a little bit more depth. Some of the actions can feel a bit on rails as you go through it, but still I like it, which is, I think I spent more time talking about how I like it in the what I don't like section. But I will say the thing I really don't like in the game is that there's a lot of degrees of trying to go somewhere first. It's kind of holding out. So you'll see it most often on this spot over here. Like whoever puts the second last spot around something opens up that last bonus play for somebody else. But that kind of concept is true everywhere on the board. Everywhere on the board, there's always that aspect of, well, if you go there first, then I can benefit off that. And so there's a degree of trying to figure out your own actions, but a degree of waiting on others that can stall the game to a degree. Like, I mean, yes, I understand that if I go there, it sets you up. And so sometimes it's a bit of a gamble. Sometimes it requires waiting till players have fewer cards in their hand and knowing the cards at the table. If you're willing to pay attention to what's being passed, you have a lot more control over that kind of move and that kind of procedure. But it does have a degree of, I'm just going to wait for you to go there, so that way when I go there, it's better for me. As far as I can see, others not liking, this game is very, very, very themeless. It is, I mean, there's a theme to it. There's a whole glass workshop theme. I don't know, but I don't get that from the experience at all. I'll also say that this is a game that, because of the wide disparity in points, because of the fact, if you're playing, going back to my comment about Dune Imperium, if you're playing Dune Imperium and someone finishes at 10 points, you finish at 6 points, it doesn't necessarily feel that bad. You did your thing, you got your stuff done, it's all great. The downside of a game that has 350 points as a reasonable end game score does mean that if you have a player who finishes with 350 points, someone else finishes with 180, even though that ratio is not that far off from 10 and 6, it feels bad. It feels bad to have someone be 100 points ahead of you in a game. This game has large chunks of points, and that means someone who finds that pattern a little better can be over 100 points easily over the player in last place. And so you do want to be mindful of that as far as who you're playing with and whether that's something that's going to bother people or not. It definitely has that factor in the game. As far as final thoughts on Mille Fiori, I like this game. I like it more than I thought I did after one play. It's always that good reminder of like playing things more than once, but I liked it more than I thought I did after one play. It's a game that very much stuck in my mind. It's a game that I wanted to dive back into because it is lighter. The decision space sometimes feels like it's not that nuanced. Sometimes it feels like, okay, great, there's like 2 or 3 obvious plays, and then you're passing your cards, and so the first hand there's a lot of choice, but the second hand there's fewer choice, and so every 5 cards you're making fewer and fewer choices, less agency. There's not a ton of decision space as far as what you're doing. I mean, everything gives you points, and so maybe it's just a mental math game of just finding out what gives you the most points. But it's compelling. It's strangely compelling. It's strangely satisfying. I have a lot of fun playing this game. It's one of those lighter games that fits perfectly into the I want to sit down, have an afternoon, have a coffee, talk with my friends while playing an experience that gives me enough focus on my thoughts that I want strategy in there, but not so much focus that it's overwhelming. I find Mille Fiori a satisfying game that I'm happy to play and I really enjoy, on the lighter side, but really enjoy this one. A 4 out of 5 for me, a strong game. I really enjoyed this one. As far as other game recommendations, first of all, Azul. If you're looking for a faster playing, tile laying game that is, of course, very well received, Azul is going to be an excellent one to check out. And if you're looking for something that kind of has the same multiple different areas to place things in, hundreds of points to go as you go through it, but leveling up as far as the difficulty of the game experience or the strategic depth of the game experience, the Castles of Burgundy is a very solid next step if you find yourself enjoying Mille Fiori, but looking for something with a little bit more to it. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.